All right, so bear with me. I'm a little out of my element with all of this, but I want everybody to be fully aware of the service I'm providing to them as the loyal play-by-play voice of Florida Atlantic. Now with a podcast, I felt it my duty to make sure that you're updated on the Bachelorette featuring former FAU wide receiver and tight end John Mitchell. So first things first, you're welcome. I'm watching these 2 hour episodes for however long it takes for John to either A, find love, or B, get kicked off the show. I'm here for you to give the John Mitchell play by play. So let me dive into the pop culture realm, the Bachelorette realm, and season 21 of the Bachelorette, which this is featuring former FAU wide receiver tight end John Mitchell, the second tight end ever in FAU history to star on the Bachelorette. This is my first season, season 21. My first season show, old enough to drink. This is my first time diving into it. Sorry, Tyler Cameron. Speaking of Tyler Cameron, he was the predecessor. He was a runner-up in the Bachelorette several seasons ago. So John Mitchell is getting his turn and representing Florida Atlantic on season 21 of the Bachelorette, special emergency edition of the Florida Atlantic Voice. And so this aired on Monday night, the 8th of July. This is episode 1, season 21 of The Bachelorette. Jenn Tran is your Bachelorette, 26 years old. She is the first Asian American to ever be featured as the Bachelorette. So history being made there. That is the major approach of the season. She was on last year's Bachelor, which apparently was season 28. Good Lord, how have they had so many seasons of this show? She only made it through week 7. Didn't even get to where they go to contestants' homes for dates. But she struck a chord with viewers, and she's accepted. And her signature phrase, apparently from The Bachelor, was "shot o'clock." It's shot o'clock, and that means let's take shots. It's pretty cut and dry. So what I wanted to do is keep you up to date with what happened with John, things that John did during the episode. But I figure since this is episode 1, we should, at the very least, run through John's competition, because just like John, a competitor on the football field, he's going to be a competitor here at the Bachelorette house. Just a reminder for those who might not remember, or you're new to FAU fandom, John Mitchell played at FAU 2016, 2018, 2019, 2020. He had an ACL tear right before the 2017 season. But again, 2016, 2018, my apologies, 2019, 2021, he had another injury as well, and then converted from wide receiver to tight end in the 2021 campaign. Really effective player. But for me, what resonates with John Mitchell with me, just so you have some perspective here, is that he's one of the all-time great human beings to ever put on an FAU uniform. Not only super talented on the field, but just an absurdly unbelievable, a pure human being. Was a biomed major at FAU. Now he's an aspiring surgeon. So, Jen, if you're watching, if you're listening, if someone's watching, listening that knows Jen, just make sure to pass along. Hey, whether you picked him or not, if you did not pick him, especially, you're missing out on a catch. All right, just and that's not a meant to be a dad joke about his football career. John's a catch, though. Okay, he's a catch. All right, so we are met by Jesse Palmer, who's the host of the Bachelorette. I met Jesse Palmer once in person at an event for the Boca Raton Bowl in Boca Raton at a mansion party, and he is just as beautiful in person, even more so, and he smells great. But just as beautiful in person as you see him on television. So, sight for sore eyes was Jesse Palmer here on ABC's The Bachelorette. We first met Marcus, Army Ranger and wants to go to space. Made sure to point that out. This was at the point, too, where I started realizing in hour one of this 2-hour affair that we're going to get video montages. And Marcus, first man up, got a video montage. And then that got me thinking, it's probably a really good sign if you get a video montage. I hope John Mitchell gets a video montage. More on that later. Marvin showed up, spoke some French to Jenn Tran, and no video montage. Uh-oh. Then Sam N., who walked up to Jen, said, I'm a virgin, a love version. Cue video montage, and Sam N. curling his eyelashes. Hey, whatever beauty tip, whatever way Sam tries to accentuate his features, good on him. I just know I have great eyelashes genetically, never curled them, and it hasn't made a damn bit of difference. Happily married, 2 kids, work just fine for me, okay? Grant showed up, and he started beatboxing into a song for Jen. Sam M. came out. Looks like a lighter J.J. Watt. That's just my observation. He's from South Carolina, said he has a very Southern gentleman approach. So he tells Jen that he's from South Carolina, and she proceeds to say, quote, I've always wanted to date a cowboy. Jen, there's no cowboys in South Carolina. I didn't know what that was about. And then we had our first It Shot a Clock drop. Sam, it shot a clock. And he dropped it in a hypothetical, a scene that he was setting about how once they're together and married, he's making breakfast on a Saturday morning. Then he drops, it shot a clock. Didn't land particularly well, but Jen seemed entertained. Thomas N. showed up and gave Jen an ill-fitting friendship bracelet, as one does when they're trying to get a beautiful woman's attention. Brendan, next up, he brought hot peppers in his suit jacket and proceeded to eat them, chomping on them, making the point that when things get hot inside, I'll be able to handle the heat. He didn't get a video montage. Dakota, he popped in, popping champagne. He had goggles on while he was doing it, too. Whatever. Kevin arrived wearing skis. I didn't quite understand that. Spencer, he let Jen pick out what pocket square he was going to wear. I don't know. Brian in Boynton Beach, another local, Boynton Beach, he brought shot syringes, and it was time for a shot o'clock. Now, the thing is, Brian works apparently in the aesthetics industry and, quote, loves Botox, according to the Bachelorette website. Matt, he brought ginger shots. So not exactly the type of shots Jen's talking about with shot o'clock, but again, we have a run on shot o'clock now. These were healthy ginger shots. Austin brought a fire extinguisher, and the reason he brought that prop, Jen's, quote, looking so fire. Guys, I watched 2 hours of this, okay? Thank me from the bottom of your heart. Ricky from Miami, a poem or a song, I couldn't quite tell what it was, about Jen being naked. Ambitious. Thomas A. brought some puppies for Jen. I thought that was a little bit gratuitous. Who's going to not like puppies showing up? But hey, play the hits. Tried and true. Jonathan, not John. Jonathan, we had to wait a while for John. Jonathan, he came in a full body bandage. He had an ace bandage wrapped around his face. He was wearing a hospital gown, nothing underneath. You could see his bare backside. He said he was love sick. He also was rolled in on a stretcher, this Jonathan guy. Performative. Aaron, pilot, adrenaline guy. His brother Noah was on The Bachelorette apparently many years ago, so it runs in the family. I think that's kind of lame if you're following your brother's footsteps on this reality show in particular. Jeremy, he's the one. I can't believe that he decided to go this route. Jeremy walks up to Jen, first time meeting her. Jenn Tran, our Bachelorette season 21. Came in a sports car, a fancy European sports car. It was like USF, except he parked it on a well-placed driveway and not dead grass like they do at USF. And he proceeded to make a penis joke. Things have changed when it comes to picking up women. It wasn't that long ago I was doing this, and apparently now this is the approach. Dylan, he's an aspiring doctor, kind of looked like John. I was a little concerned. Dylan, good looking, buff dude. And again, like John, trying to get himself into the medical realm. Then John showed up. John Mitchell himself, former FAU wide receiver and tight end. And he looked good. He's wearing a full suit, pocket square, no tie, unbuttoned dress shirt. Looked good. And, man, I'm telling you, John looks like he's still in playing shape, in my opinion. He brought a prop. It was a pedestal. He put it in front of Jenn. And if you remember, John Mitchell, not a short guy. If I remember correctly, he was 6'5". Let me double check on that. 6'4", 228. John Mitchell. As we know him and love him, number 13 turned number 85 in an FAU uniform. But he put down this pedestal in front of Jenn, and he said, quote, "I'm going to put you on a pedestal," talking about the relationship. Well done, John. It was smooth. I thought that it was well timed. I thought the delivery was exceptional. Good job. And John also was getting some close-ups after that once all the guys came together and one-on-ones were taking place with Jenn Tran and all of these other men. Then it was Brett after that. I stopped paying attention for a while because I didn't care once John arrived. Purplish suit there for Brett. There was Mose. There was Jahan, who brought a chess piece, the Queen, to make some sort of reference to her being the Queen. Devin said, "Not every day you get to meet your future wife." Okay. Hakeem, he wore dozens of balloons saying, quote, "I was floating on cloud 9" when he found out that he was on the Bachelorette. Then he proceeded to go to the backyard and all the balloons popped on a tree that he got stuck in. All right. So after this, they go into the mansion, okay, and they're all kind of hanging out with one another. They're drinking. Jenn's going around, and she's meeting with all these guys one-on-one. This is mostly going to be John-related observations. That's all any of these emergency episodes are going to be, because all we care about is John Mitchell in our FAU hearts, all right? The first time in this indoor setting we see John truly prominently featured outside of a few random background camera shots. They're playing Truth or Dare, and John asks a question. It's a truth that Jenn needs to answer. John asks, "Who would you not give a rose to?" Bold question, John. I like it. If you're going to play Truth or Dare, get right down to the nitty gritty. And he actually showing a bit of force, a bit of male gravitas. He called out Grant. Grant was the beatboxer, and he had been pretty quiet to this point. And John says, "I bet it's probably you." Woo! You show Jenn, John. You show her that you mean business. And if Grant's going to stand off to the side and be lackadaisical about his approach, you step in there. You say, "I'm John Mitchell, and Jenn, I'm going to win your heart." Well done. Well done. Lots of camera time at this juncture for John. We're at about an hour in at this point. Now, there was John and there was Jonathan, and I was a little bit upset that Jonathan, that's the guy with the ace bandage all over his face. He came in on the stretcher. He's not wearing anything under a hospital gown. Jonathan gets full-fledged one-on-one national TV time with Jenn. Long TV time with Jenn. So I didn't appreciate that. John showed up prim and proper and looking great. Jonathan had an ace bandage around his face, and he also dropped this on Jenn. "I wanted you to get to know me before you saw me." Come on, dude. She's got to think that's corny. That's cringy, but she, of course, ate it up. Lame. Then there was the douche-off of the night. All right, let me set the scene. You remember the guy who showed up in the sports car and made the penis joke? That was Jeremy. So he got his time with Jenn, And of course, he brings her out to the car, has her seat in the leather seats, talks about how he had the car shipped in from New York City, blah, blah, blah. Then Brian, the guy with the syringes with the shots, right? The guy who, quote, loves Botox, he says, I need to get in there. I need to be proactive. I need to get my time with Jenn. He gets a little bit pumped up from the other dudes who are now feeling the alcohol a little bit, and he walks out there, confronts Jeremy in the car, sitting with Jenn, and he actually had acquired somehow the keys to this car, this Brian Botox guy, and he confronts Jeremy, and Jeremy, he would later say, oh, this was the mature thing of me to do. He got up and he walked away without confrontation. Then cut to Brian Botox, and he says straight into the camera, sorry, Jeremy, she's just got too much horsepower for you. With his plastic face and no expression. That was the douche-off of the night. They did not, ABC did not show a single second of John Mitchell's one-on-one with Jenn. And that's when I started to get extremely concerned. Is John Mitchell, handsome, future surgeon, biomed student, FAU grad, outstanding wide receiver, tight end, John Mitchell, is he going to be one and done on season 21 of The Bachelorette? And I got extremely, extremely concerned at this point because, like I was saying earlier, if you get a video package in the initial introductions to the Bachelor, Bachelorette, chances are you're in pretty good shape. John did not get that. John, he had the pedestal, the podium that he had Jenn step up on, but he didn't get a video package. He didn't get a montage. So that was red flag number one. Red flag number two was no one-on-one time was shown on episode 1 of season 21. And I got that pit in my stomach that, oh my goodness, no way, this can't be happening to John. They do right before the rose ceremony starts, and then Jesse Palmer brings in all the roses, and Jenn's going to hand them out to see who makes it to day 2 and beyond. And there's unfortunately going to be several of these men that are going to be sent home just after a little bit of time with their true love, Jenn Tran. And John says, quote, and again, I literally quoted everything John said. He says, quote, this is the first time we've heard him speak about Jenn since he was outside introducing himself. Quote, my heart is thumping through my chest. If I don't get a rose, I'll be absolutely crushed, end quote. Very emotional, vulnerable from John Mitchell. And I appreciate that in a guy, and I'm sure Jenn does as well. Then she starts giving out roses, more roses. No John Mitchell. Dylan, the guy who I said looked a little bit like John, he got a rose. And I'm thinking, my goodness, no. Is she really going to take two very well-chiseled, jawed, medical aspiration men into the second round of the Bachelorette? Beatboxing guy got a rose. I couldn't believe it. Could not believe that beatboxing guy got a rose. But then here it was. John Mitchell got his rose. John M., as Jenn Tran called him. John M. gets his rose, and he triumphantly walked to her. But then that's the last that we saw of him. And this is where I have a bone to pick with ABC. John Mitchell, and take it from me, someone who spent a good amount of time, certainly more time than Jenn did on this particular evening. Take it from me, John Mitchell has a lot of fascinating, heartfelt things to say one-on-one. I got several one-on-one sit-downs with John Mitchell, and in fact, they were put out there and broadcast for the world to hear. We didn't get that benefit night number 1 of season 21 of The Bachelorette, and I think that sucks. I want to hear, and America needs to hear, the world needs to hear and see what John Mitchell has to say to his future, if all goes well, his future fiance and eventually bride. So he got his rose, and in episode 2, again, 2 hours, these episodes, and I checked, that's every episode. I need more John Mitchell, and I need to hear what he has to say, and I need to know that Jenn is making a connection with him. So ABC, more John Mitchell, or we riot. And I say this on behalf of not only me, but on behalf of all of Florida Atlantic as well. Okay? So John Mitchell gets his rose. He is in to at least episode 2 of The Bachelorette, Jenn Tran season 21. And that'll do it for the Florida Atlantic Voice Bachelorette John Mitchell edition recap. Number 1, John Mitchell, the big story, got his rose, and he's on to the next round. And I'm thrilled for him. John, go get your lady. This has been an emergency edition, Florida Atlantic Voice. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple, whatever. The Florida Atlantic Voice. I'm Ken LaVicka. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye.